Basically, I'm not sure how much we'll get done, but this is what our object is today to do. All right, so join me for this.
Okay, so we're going to start on the Meterbridge here. Now I made a actual mistake first because the Meterbridge actually has a access way to fold down the front of the Meterbridge so you could actually work on these circuit boards. But I made the mistake of taking the back off of it. So taking a lot of screws off and removing the back plate and getting access. So you see me actually working on removing the bar graph cards from the rear now. It's no big deal. I did learn after I took off all three bar graph cards and stuff. I then noticed the hinges and said, "Oh, well, wait a minute, I'm doing this wrong." So anyway, you'll see later as I reassemble it that the front panel will actually fold down, and I will be putting these cards back in the horizontal position, which is actually how you're supposed to access it. But for the time being right now, notice that we're just going to remove the cards. The ribbon cable's been unplugged. Removing, I believe there's five screws that are holding this card in, and I'm going to pull this card off. Once I remove the last screw coming off here, I think this is it, and then you'll see me removing the card now. Here's the bar graph card that contains all the meters, and this is actually 1 through 8. There is a jumper to denote which is which. Now I've taken the card over to the bench here, and I'm going to clean off some residue. This could be just flux residue right here that could have been there, or it could be from water. But there's a little bit of residue, especially by the connectors and ICs like that. So I've tried to make sure that that's all been removed. And you'll see me scrubbing it here with the toothbrush and isopropyl alcohol to get rid of all that. Also, now I'm going to brush out all the extra insulation and junk and dirt that's just sitting in there all over. Yeah, you can see everything. And then what I need to do now also is use some cleaner here, basically like a 409 or something, and clean the actual LED faces because there's probably from smoke damage. There's a little bit of residue on this, and I've cleaned back in the meter bridge itself the same stuff. So I'm just kind of wiping off all of this like maybe soot, I guess you could call it. And then you got to be careful. See that now I got a little LED there, and you got to straighten it because those LEDs got to protrude through the panel, and you can't have them bent or they're not going to stick through the panel itself. So and also you'll notice I'm going to go wipe them LEDs a little bit because it's just they're dirty. So anyway, to clean all that off, this is one of the back plates. Now we're going to actually remove the switch caps off the switch panel, and they just snap right off. I'm just using the tweezers just to help pull it off, but you can kind of just pull them. They just pull straight up. So we're going to use that so we can get underneath there and clean everything else like that. You don't need to watch this completely like this, so I think we'll fast forward through some of this, see what's so we can get on to the next part of it like that. Pretty fast job, huh? Okay, now with all the switches removed, we have to remove this stiffening bar that goes between it and basically, I guess, stiffens the board and provides a sort of definition between the two banks of switches on the board. When you see this, it's actually a solid metal bar. It's held in by two screws, and I'm going to remove that there, but look at the amount of dirt that comes out underneath there. Yeah, and sure, of course, put it right down on top of the switches. Not good. Now we've taken the switches out, or the switchboard out, and we're going to blow all of that shit out of the switchboard. You can see it flying all over. I'm using compressed air from my air compressor, and we're just blowing all the dust and dirt and debris that's inside these switches out and behind it and everywhere like that. And like I said, the beauty is that these are Hall effect switches. So we don't really have to worry about any oxidation that's going in there and spray cleaner or anything like that because the Hall effect switch doesn't rely on contact positions like that. Now we're going to do the switch caps, and this is a long, tedious process. You can see one by one, I have to brush out each switch cap, and there's stuff behind there. There's a lot of junk inside there. As you can see, I'm brushing it onto the bench there, but each and every. So yes, here we go, really quickly. I wish I could work this fast, but you can see each switch cleaned. Each switch cap, I should say, the behind the switch cap, because this is where all the dust and debris trapped between the switches and the switch cap and cause more and more problems like that. But here I am zipping through it and cleaning every switch cap. Mind you, you're only looking at one section of switch boards and meters, 1 through 8, I think, or that I'm doing, but I have to do this on 3 boards and 3 sections of these. And so there's quite a bit there to clean. Quite a bit of boards to clean. All right, here we go, the last one finally of this one. And then we're also going to have to clean off this switch bar because it's full of debris and grit like that. And you could just see it, see all of this stuff. There's a little phenolic insulator, and look at all that stuff there. All that came out of there. And this is actually not a bad board. There was ones that were far worse than this. This one's actually pretty good shape like that. Okay, so now also that residue again. You see it back there on behind the things. So I'm going to use some isopropyl alcohol and a toothbrush. We're going to clean it. Again, I don't know if this was from water damage or this is original flux that was left over on that stuff. But we're going to go once over on these boards just to clean that all out and make sure that everything is clean and there's no shorts between contact positions. Okay, and we'll just brush and make sure everything looks good like that. A little once over on everything like that. And our switchboard, I think, is about done. Now we have to do is install that metal support bracket there, back in there again. All right, it's just got 2 screws on it, so I'm just lining it up, getting the 2 screws, putting it in, and we're going to then tighten that down. That's the support and divider between the banks of switches on the front panel. Which one is everything's together? You can get a picture of this and see what this looks like. But we'll just tighten those 2 screws down, which is going to support that panel. And then we become the tedious process of installing the switch caps back on. Okay, so there's the board. Switches all look good, nice and clean. And now we're going to put the switch caps on. And now, I kind of remember which way they go, except I'm going to be making a big mistake right here. Okay, because the switch caps have an LED on them on some switch caps and not on other switch caps. And I look and then say, uh-oh, yep, you got the board upside down, dummy. There we go. Let's put the board in the correct position and start again putting in the switch caps. There we go. You can see on the top of that switch cap, there's a little spot where the LED shows through. And on some of them, the very top one, I believe, there's not an LED. So you got to make sure you get the right ones. But anyway, here we are putting it in. You don't need to see me putting these all together. So again, we'll fast forward through this whole mess and do that. Yeah, you can see you see that top one there that has the numbers. Those actually aren't illuminated. There's no LED in them to show you that that's been selected. It's only those other ones down below. Input, repro, safe, sync. All of those have a little LED above them that shines through the switch cap. And there we go. We got it all assembled just about. And then we'll take it over and put the board back in. We'll just check, make sure the switches are all free. Okay, now you can see that there's the front panel folded down. And we're going to install the switches. I'm actually putting 9 through 16 in. 1 through 8's already been installed in there. And I'm putting the switchboard for 9 through 16 in. And it just fits right down in there. Just make sure it fits correctly. And, a couple of screws, but the screws have to go through a plate here. And you're going to see another silly mistake going on right here. So here's the cover plate that shields the bar graphs from the switches and supports them. And what's this? The holes don't line up? Wait a minute. This doesn't, well, I'm lost. What's going on here? Why don't those holes line up? Wait a minute. Oh, it's backwards. There we go. Let's put it in this correct way, and I think the holes will line up now. Yeah, we all make mistakes, so luckily nothing harmed or damaged in that. Okay, so we screw in, I believe there's 4 screws here that will hold the switch panel in and now provide the mounting for the bar graph display. Again, the switch panel, they're exactly the same. The switches, I think there's a link on the bar graph display and the board that plugs into the switch panel, which I don't believe, well, maybe there'll be a picture of it being installed. But let me just get all these 4 screws in, and don't ask me why I don't have the correct wrench for this, but I think I will be getting it because these are all the same hex screw throughout the machine. So it's silly to kind of use this little L-shaped hex wrench doing this, but at this point, that's all I had. So we're going to use it like that. All right, and let's just get these 4 screws in so we can put the bar graph in next. Now the bar graph boards, as in the bar graph, I think it's driver board there, are coded. Coded. There's actually a jumper to determine which board it is. If it's 1 through 8, 9 through 16, or 17 through 24. And the boards are exactly the same. You just move the jumpers around, and that would correct where the board goes in its place. So right now we got that all tightened down, and there is a little board. Yeah, I think you might have saw it for a second there. That's going to plug into this board. After I get this one screwed, it's kind of like giving me grief. Again, if I had the right tool for this job, I wouldn't have this problem. But, this is part of it. This is what happens all the time. So you need to get this thing in, and it's just giving me a grief getting that screw in. Trying to get the alignment of the board, the shield, and the standoff that it's screwing into all in one spot. And having a wrench that won't allow me to do a complete 360 because of the little right angle on the thing. So I'll fight with this for a few minutes and eventually get this installed in there. Keep going. There we go. I finally got it going, and we could tighten it down. All right, so let's go back, make sure they're all nice and tight now. And here we go. All right. So the next step should be that that little driver board. I actually don't know what that's called offhand. Yeah, I'll actually take a look. Of course, looking at the diagram in the machine, it didn't help. They just call it channel group. So here is the little board now, and it does have jumpers on it, so it knows that this is the 9 through 16 board, and it just plugs into two connectors down there. And there's two screws that fasten it to the chassis. I need some more screws out of the bottle, so let's do that. Two screws that will fasten that board to the chassis, which, it's looks like the wall of it, but that's going to be the bottom because remember, this is flipped down right now. And so let me just put these two screws in there. And then the last step we have will be the bar graph board itself. That will fit in there. Of course, these washers are impossible to pick up. Thank goodness for the magnetic end of that driver there. And that should put in that board there. That's where our ribbon cables will interface into, is that board, so that all the switch matrix can actually drive up through there. Right by where I'm at, there's the connector, the ribbon cable connector for that. All right, so that's nice and tight now. And we go to the last operation going to be is install that bar graph board. There it is. Now, remember, I cleaned all those windows on there and cleaned the things, so it should be nice and neat, and it should look great later. And that just fits in. Key is those LEDs got to be straight because they're going through little tiny holes in there. And now we'll fasten this here with like 5 screws into this board. Screws and washers, of course, those little washers that are impossible to pick up. Thankfully, some of them already got the washer still on the screw. And you could see there's a connector on this board too, which goes in a ribbon bus across. So these boards too are labeled, they are jumpered. So that board that I'm installing will be 9 through 16. The jumper's in the second position, indicating it's a 9 through 16 board now at this point. So all is left to do is really just put in all these screws, and this meter board will be installed. Now, I've done the other one off camera, and I've done the third one off camera, so you're not going to see that. But when we come back after this video is going to end at this. When we come back to the next video, we'll see that we'll go into the master section of this Meterbridge and take it apart. But I'm going to do that quickly because it's really just a redundant thing that you're seeing of cleaning the switches, switch caps, switch boards. It's the same.
Well, we ran out of time today, but we did get all of this switch input for the inputs and the cards done. We still have to do this little master section here yet, and all its switches and stuff. So we'll have to continue that in the next video. Thank you for joining us.